loneliness. It's more harmful than not exercising. The equivalent of 15 cigarettes a day, being an alcoholic, twice as harmful as obesity. Which is why today, guys, I am so freaking honored to bring on my damn homies to help us navigate how we have been able to build friendships in our adulthood. So please welcome my girl, Marta. We got Danielle in the house. So ladies, as we've been friends for a long time, we know how special our friendship is to us. So if we can help people navigate adult friendships, female friendships, it would be a job well done. So I polled my community to figure out what are people actually struggling with. All right, so I asked what was the hardest part of a female friendship. The selections were when there's envy or competition, when there's a man that gets in the middle,
oh my God,
when one is in a toxic relationship, and when you live different lifestyles, if you're married.
Good options.
Oh,
really
so,
good options.
Now you guys all seem to nod at every single one of them.
I mean, I think I've had experiences with all of them.
Oh.
With all of them, including when a man gets in the middle?
Well, one of my friends right now is dating a guy that I literally think is a con artist.
Right.
And I had to have the conversation with her.
What did you say to her?
I brought up all the facts of why I think he's lying about his situation.
Right,
Because
so
it was a really hard conversation because I love her and I want to be supportive, but I'm really worried for her because things that his story is not adding up. So I see that this is literally happening for me right now, and I'm in this position where I don't want to be around this guy because for me he feels very dangerous.
How did you even start the conversation? Because I bet everyone's like, how do you even broach something like that?
Wow, we went deep real quick.
Oh, come on, this Women of Impact, you know that, homie.
So basically, I actually think deep down she knows. There's like all these things that are just not really adding up. And so I was in two minds about whether I said something or not. But at the end of the day, I really care about this person. And so I think my angle was like, if I'm not a really good friend, I don't say something. But if I'm a really good friend, I'm like, hey, look, I'm not going to tell you who to date, but I am really concerned that this person is not being honest. So I said to her, look, like, I love you and I'm sharing it from a place of like wanting to protect you. She's like, yeah, I can see these certain things. Yes, I did think that was weird. So I'm like, okay, so where is your line? Because you are agreeing that these things are not adding up, but I'm worried that you're not holding a standard for the men that you're letting in your life, because you should have a higher standard than this. But I did draw the line on being around him. I was like, just so you know, I am not going to go to dinner with him. I am not going to be around him because I don't want him knowing anything about me, because I don't think he is a good person and I don't want that in my life. I don't want to welcome that person into my close friendship circles, into my family, because I don't know where that's going to end.
All right, so quick question. Out of everybody here, who is so glad that they're friends with Danielle because she's going to be that honest with you?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm like shaking kind of story because it's really hard, like to have that, like tell your friend, like, I'm not okay with this.
But it gets really like kind of tricky to have that conversation as well if they've been in a relationship with them for a long time, because you know that there is a chance that they will choose the other person over you, and you know that by just being honest and communicating how you feel, like we've all been in that situation where you're like, I don't want you to think badly of me, so I'm now not going to tell you things. If you don't like my partner, I'm not going to tell you about my partner, instead of going, I'm actually not going to be with this person. So it's really brave, I think, to have that conversation.
That is so good. So I was going to share something. It reminded me like I was on the other side of the story. This happened to me a long time ago, and I hadn't thought about it in a lot of years. But you guys know my friend Claudia. We've been friends for 20-something years, and she is so loving, and we've lived together, we were roommates, it was amazing. What happened is that my boyfriend at the time and her cousin at the time were hanging out together. And they started doing some crazy things with women. And Claudia, my friend, didn't know how to approach this conversation because she knew, obviously, because of her cousin. And so she wanted to tell me, and she didn't know how to tell me. And I remember we sat down in the dining room, and she said, Martita, this conversation is really hard for me to have with you because I know there's two paths after this. One is you may not want to be my friend anymore, ever. But I don't care, she said, because I care about you and I care about your heart. And so the other path is that I tell you what I'm going to share with you, and then things probably are going to change in your relationship. But I just cannot continue to be living with you, being your friend, knowing these things without telling you. And I was like, oh my God, please tell me. And first of all, this is not, somebody who just became friends with me and maybe she's jealous about. No, she's a good friend. And so I said, listen, I trust you. Whatever it is that you're going to say to me, it's going to be, I know, for the good of my heart, like you're saying. So please be open, share with me. So then she shared that with me. And obviously I believed her, because that's the thing about really good friends. They are there for you. So you also have to have an open heart and not be blinded by love or try to protect your relationship with whomever you are at that moment. It's like, I'm going to listen with curiosity to see what my friend has to say.
That's so beautiful. I think the problem comes when one of them isn't in that state of mind. So it's like if you're telling somebody and the person just doesn't want to hear it, that's when it's like, I don't know how that works. I think your friend is right. It's like, look, for me to be able to feel good about myself as a friend, I have to be honest with you. And if that means that unfortunately may break this friendship, I can live with that. I can't live with not being honest with you. So where's that line? Okay, so I want to reveal the poll results.
Yeah.
Do you guys have, before we reveal, do you guys have a hypothesis of which one is the top one that most women find difficult?
I think the first one, maybe.
I think first or last.
I think
First or last, yeah.
I thought first or the third one.
All right, drum roll please, let's reveal the answer. There's envy and competition, and it won by a freaking landslide. 54% of people think that envy and competition is the hardest thing in their relationship. So I've actually got a community question from your community, Radi. You reached out and you said, how can I help? What are you guys struggling with? And this person said, how do you deal with jealousy in friendships when your friend is not being happy for your success? So you've gone from somebody that was in London, no one really, knew your name, and holy smokes, girl, you come to LA, you blow the world right open, and you have a massive following, you've got a crazy career, like podcast, book, and so your life has completely changed. Have you experienced that with any of your friends, and what advice can you give for someone at home right now?
I think the first thing I would say is I've definitely been the other person too, where I've been jealous of people. But I think it's because when I was going through those feelings, it was because I was so confused and unhappy with the way I was living my life that you constantly crave other people's lives or how they're feeling, or you crave what they have, but really you're craving the way that they're feeling about their life more than you're craving what the actual thing is. So I was like, I want to be happy, or I want to figure out what my purpose is, or I want to figure out what job I want to do, like figuring out all those things through that journey. I definitely felt waves of this. Oh, but why is that person so happy doing this? Like, how do I feel that happy? And maybe I should be doing this. And so I can really empathize, because I think it comes from a place of when you feel a little bit broken, it's so easy to feel those feelings and not want to either. Like, I don't actually think everyone who feels jealous or feels competition or envy with their friends actually want to feel that way. It's something which overcomes you, and you can still love someone and have love for them, but still get these feelings of envy, because the love is towards them. The envy is something you are feeling. Like, it's something that comes from you. And so I can empathize, but for me at the same time, I'm really limited with what I actually share with 99% of the world. I have very few people that I actually talk to about intricacies of my life, whether it's to do with work, personal, my relationship. I have very few people. Two of those people are my mum and my sister.
the third person is my dad, and then it's and then Jay. I mean, about he lives in my world, so he already knows it, and so it's really
joking.
No, totally.
Sometimes maybe the problem's Jay.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are you going to turn to when you got a problem with your
really
partner?
him. He's really jealous of my hair, and so yeah, I think one, I've limited the amount of people that I talk to about things, because I do understand that sometimes when you share parts of your life and people are really craving it, and craving a partner that's like this, or craving work that they feel fulfilled in, it's really difficult to digest other people's lives being lived like that. And sometimes people aren't ready to accept it and receive it and take it with love. So I'm really conscious about energy in that way, and I do believe that there's no need to share things with people that you know are not in a mental space to receive it. And so with a lot of my friends, even back in London, I don't think that they're not ready to receive it, but I think what is relevant for me to tell them, what's actually going to nourish our friendship, and depending on that person, I will share and decide to open up about my life in that way.
All right, guys, we'll be right back with this girl gang. Before we do, if this episode or any other Women of Impact episode has brought you value, please smash that subscribe button down there, because this is the place, a calling card for all women, that you can come here, build your confidence, get support. We got your back. So smash that subscribe button. Now let's get back to the episode. Well, let me throw a scenario at you then.
Yeah, go on.
You're really excited about something. You can't believe, like, one of the dreams that you've had since a child has finally come true.
Yeah.
And there's a close friend of yours that you're just like, you want to share that excitement, but you know she can't receive it.
Yeah.
What do you part of me feels like I don't think it's healthy as a friend to dumb down your excitement and achievement.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think it depends how long this person's been in that period for. Obviously, if I've had a friend who's been like that for years and years, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're in my close friend circle.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so I think in my close friend circle, I actually don't have anybody that's like that. And if they've gone through spurts of that, it's been an open conversation of like, I'm really feeling bad about my life right now, and I'm struggling with this, this, and this. So then I'd rather help them with that if I feel like it's a relationship I want to invest in. But I would say that's a really slim circle of people. And so, again, I think that's close friendship versus friends, and then acquaintances, and then people you just know.
So kind of thinking, like, going back to this question, thinking like, okay, well, who's in your really small circle of friends that you can be that with, where you can share things?
Yes.
Who's in that outer circle? What does that look like and represent? And then who's in that circle? And so now you've almost got a method in which you share your happiness and your success without having the backlash.
Yeah, and without having to, like you said, reduce down the excitement and dilute it, because you're like, just in case that person can't handle my joy for it because they don't have the joy to feel in them right now. And it's like, well, I don't want to put that person through it, but I also want to share my excitement to its fullest with someone that can receive and share it back with me.
You know, I think you said something that's really, really important to highlight, and that is, like, people, for the most part, aren't bad. No. And when they're being envious or jealous or insecure, it doesn't come from a place of them wanting you to fail or being unhappy for you. It just comes, to your point, from a place of how they're feeling inside. And especially if we're insecure ourselves, we can be really focused on how we can impress people. Like, I got this promotion at work, you know, me and my husband are getting married. Like, all these things are kind of actually coming from a place of insecurity ourselves. And that's not how you connect with people.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we have to try and impress less and connect more. You know, I have friends that I've been friends with since I was 4 years old. And when I meet up with them, we connect on things that we connect on. Because they don't care about my life in LA. They don't care about it. It's like if you had a friend who was a supermodel. I'm not likening myself to a supermodel, but I'm saying if you had a friend who was a supermodel and all they talked about was the glamorous cities they went to, the shoots they went on, the celebrities they met as a result of it, the money they were making, you'd be like, I'm really happy to hear about this up to a point, and then I don't feel connected to you because I don't relate to your life. Versus if they talk about the purpose that they're getting from modeling and, you know, the confidence they're building from it and the amazing people they're meeting and what they're learning along the way, then you can connect. And I think it's learning to kind of that balance between impressing and connecting.
Right.
And I think it really is an antidote to envy if you really are focused on connecting with the person in front of you.
Exactly.
You know, there's two things I think. There's a difference between feeling jealous and feeling envious.
Yeah, totally.
So feeling jealous is like, it's kind of like, oh, I wish I had what you have. And feeling envious is, I wish I had what you have and you don't
have it. Yeah.
Which is an
Yeah, I haven't
evil
felt that.
part of, it's like it's the shadow. It's a shadow of that person. And I had an experience with an actress that I was there's another friend who's an actor who booked in the last Matrix movie. She's in the movie. So I got super excited for her. So I'm texting her, oh my God, I'm so excited. I saw the movie, and I was really texting her. And this other actress was next to me, and she was like, who'd you texting? I was like, oh, this friend, did you hear? Like, did you watch this movie? It's amazing. She's in the movie, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, oh, I will never watch that movie. I'm like, why? We both are friends with these friends, or at least acquaintances in the business. And she goes, no, because I'm not happy that she did this. Like, I wish I would have done it. And I go, oh my God.
How honest.
So I asked
how
her.
honest.
So I asked her, so wait, when I book a project, do you watch my movies? And she goes, never.
Wow.
wow.
At least she told you the truth.
Respect, right? It's
like, great, I know where I stand now.
It's interesting because I was talking to my sister about it, and I said, well, at least she was sincere. And she said, no, my sister said she's not sincere. She's cynical. She's not sincere. So when I book a movie and I'm working on a project, you don't feel happy. No, I feel envious. That's how I feel. I feel bad for her.
I know, like going back to your empathy thing, the fact that she cannot be happy for a friend who's got a gig.
Yeah.
She misses out on that joy. And I actually think envy and those type of emotions, envy and anger, are actually the secondary response. Like the initial feeling is actually pain and hurt and discomfort and the feeling of not being worthy enough. And then the envy is what shows up externally.
Yeah.
But actually, envy is such a secondary feeling or emotion to everything else going on. I would say envy and anger are actually easier emotions to show than vulnerability and saying I actually feel really insecure and I'm sad because I didn't get this role because I really thought I was worth it and I really thought I could have made it, and what is it about me that they didn't like about me that didn't get me that role?
That goes to the success part, right? Where it's like someone's trying to be successful and then someone is actually more successful. So it makes them feel like it's a reflection of them. So what we actually did, I then took this poll and I went even deeper. Because I was like, what is it about envy and competition that women have? And so we did a poll, let's pull that up. All right, so the poll was, are you envious in a relationship status, that you're single and your friend isn't, or vice versa? Are you envious in money? Your friends earn more, so you can't actually afford to go on that girls' trip, or vice versa. Number 3, other friends. They're jealous you have a separate friend circle that doesn't actually include them, vice versa.
Wow.
And lastly, the availability and communication. Your friends don't understand you have a demanding job and can't hang out or reply to the texts as often, or vice versa.
I think it's 3 or 4.
I think it's 3.
All right, so,
I think so
you think
too.
it's other
I think
friends,
3.
other friends. Really? Other friends?
Really?
I don't know. Actually.
More so because
I'm,
I think other
struggling with
friends
these.
or availability communication.
I
but
think with 4, probably
Number
4.
4, availability and communication.
Yeah, number 1 and 4.
It could also be 1, yeah.
It could also be
definitely
one.
be
about
1.
I want to know the answer.
Let's reveal it. It is
Yeah.
availability and communication by, again, a landslide. So this is 42% of people thought that was one of the biggest things. So this was a poll that we did on the YouTube, Women of Impact YouTube channel. And I started to read the comments because I was just like hearing people's feedback. One of the things I completely missed, guys, completely, and then I just saw it over and over and over, was envy and competition in beauty.
That makes sense.
Oh, yes.
That
That is-
makes sense. I did think.
All right, so why do you guys all think it makes sense?
Because the world is so the world teaches a woman to be competitive about it. That is literally. Sorry, go on.
No.
And defines what beauty is.
Yeah, that is.
There's a definition of beauty.
It's through
not
the eyes
like
of
we're
men.
all beautiful.
Yes,
That's the
fully.
thing. It's through the eyes of men. It's like the world. We are told our value is
Oh my God, yes.
only what men perceive our value to be, which is oftentimes
Externals.
beauty,
Yeah.
external features, and I think that's.
But when I look at where it comes from, I personally don't necessarily blame men more than I blame biology.
Yeah.
For instance, I turn 45. I'm in perimenopause. I can't have a baby, right? What's a man's reason to live?
Yeah.
Right.
Procreate.
Yeah.
So now, if you're 45 and you can't procreate, biology makes sure that you then are attracted to a younger
Yeah.
person that is more fertile. Now look, I'm saying that's biology from thousands and thousands of years ago. So when I go back to where we are in today's society, how do we change that?
I don't actually think it's a man thing, because I do think that that's part of it. But I really think I think about when I used to go out when I was at university and I'd go out to a club, I'd actually be dressing up with women in mind, because a guy will go for anything that's got their legs out. Like if you had your legs out at uni or like you were wearing a tight dress, it really didn't matter what your face looked like or what anything like at that.
Face looks
Do you know what it really? I'm sorry, but there is a bit of it really doesn't matter.
There was like a stat about how
How a man looks at a woman.
and how women dress for other women.
Exactly.
It's not actually
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them.
And I think about even when I show Joe,
I
I'm like,
dress
oh my
up for
god,
you
this
guys.
girl is so beautiful. Or we have a completely different perception of what women beauty is than a man does most of the time.
Yes.
What I see as like when I'm like, this woman is so beautiful, I think most of my male friends actually don't have the same experience that I do when I'm looking at a girl's beauty or a woman's beauty. So actually when we're looking at each other, we are noticing things that a man would not even notice. Yes. And so I think what the competition as you're getting older, I think gets worse, but I think it's more to do with aging. And I think that is more of a society pressure than it is a man looking at a woman differently.
My husband said something to me as well. And he was always like, the most attractive thing about a woman is her confidence.
Yes.
He's like, that's like really what inner beauty is like when a woman can have the confidence to show up as she is. Yeah. He's like, I think you're the most beautiful when you don't have makeup on.
Yeah.
Or like you're just oozing your own confidence. Like, and I think that's just a really interesting like takeaway of it. Like, again, we're sold via magazines or online that beauty looks like this, or this, right? And there's certain buckets that maybe certain people are attracted to or not. And so I do think there is a societal narrative that does need to be changed around aging for women.
For sure.
I think like the narrative for men is that men do get hotter
as they get older,
You don't hear like the silver fox being utilized for a woman, right? So I do think there is societal pressures on there, but I also do think a lot of it also lies within women and ourselves being able to say like, I am beautiful, and owning that. Like, I am beautiful. Yes, I have fine lines. I have a C-section scar. Like, I have all these things, but I love my body.
Yeah.
And my body made a whole human. At my age, it's showing all the things I've been through, and I'm grateful for that. And I'll show up however I want and own how I look because I'm still confident in that.
And when you realise that confidence is what men actually like, every time you go to say something kind of negative about yourself, because I always do that with Tom, or at least I used to. I was like, oh babe, I don't look good today. Like, oh, I've got like some flab, or you know. and then in my head, I'm like, do you think you're more attractive to him right now by telling him that
You're telling him what to look at.
Just so you know, I have this. I see it too before you try to. But that's why we do it, isn't it? That's why we do it.
But in that real time, it's like if you can catch yourself, now you start to then hopefully change the way you see yourself. Then hopefully you start to change the way you talk. Then you start to hopefully change your friend's opinion, right? And now it starts like, when I think about no bullshit, how are we actually going to change society and how we women can really show our freaking value at any bloody age? It's this. It has to start with ourselves.
You're really good at that though.
You are.
In terms of
It's
about
your
yourself, but
superpower.
also with everyone else.
Yeah.
I've been talking to my friends a lot about, or even when I go on podcasts, about aging and how until you start looking at yourself in the mirror and being okay with the fact that every single one of us ages, and every single one of us, whether it's through our skin, through the way that we can move, through whatever it is, of course, there are things we can do to prevent and make us feel strong and well and our skin look amazing as possible. But as soon as you're trying to create a facade of like making yourself feel younger and younger and younger, at one point you're going to get to a point where nothing is going to work, and you're going to go through a breakdown of saying, oh my gosh, I'm actually old now, rather than taking it step at a time as nature has intended us to. And actually accepting each little thing that comes with aging, this attachment to your body rather than the people around you, rather than your soul, rather than the actual true connection that we're all talking about.
Have you guys seen the Demi Moore movie?
Yes, I started watching it. It's
Okay.
gruesome
So you want
though.
to talk about though the analogy of what we do to our bodies.
Yeah.
We're willing to torture
No, it's
and
torture, yeah.
our bodies and put them in pain just for the service of beauty.
You know, I had recently had this conversation with somebody who is older than we are, and she said, you know, it's so sad that the older us women get, we get wiser. We have so much more nurture to give and wisdom, and we are, in general, could be less valued because we're not as beautiful. And as I was listening to this, I thought,
Sorry.
All right, I'm just going to pause for a second.
Yeah.
We all love Danielle. I'm not cutting this out. Before we started rolling, she started saying that she's got a sore throat. Not sore throat because the air we live in LA. So she said, I'm so sorry if I cough over you guys. And I was like, homie, be yourself. So literally, she's holding him. She tapped me to make a Martha just now to pause so she could cough so that we could cut it out. That's how amazing.
I know what you're doing.
So A, as a friend, we got your back. And how sweet. You didn't even beat, you just stopped. Anyway, so true freaking
No, Martha was like, are you done?
I was leaving the space because when when you're shooting, you can cut that out and then you continue.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was such a beautiful example. It's such a beautiful example, though, of friendship.
Yeah.
So sorry. All right, Martha, keep going. Coming up.
The first person you're disrespecting by not setting a boundary is yourself.
Every single woman I know loves shopping, and yet we don't like bra shopping. Why? Because it's sometimes impossible to find something that actually fits you. Because let's face it, you buy the bra, you really like it, you go to work, you eat something, you sit down for a long time, and then before you know it, it's too tight and it hurts. And someone like me who actually has a small little bust but a big back, it's so hard to find a bra that fits. But I've discovered Fits Everybody line from Skims. Here you go, this is amazing. And the Fits Everybody collection actually does that. It goes all the way from extra, extra small to 4X. So you can shop right now by clicking the link in the show notes, or you can go to skims.com or go to the Skims stores. Now, after you placed your order, be sure to let them know that we sent you. Select the podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gift for your Valentine's or for yourself, Skims just launched their best Valentine's shop ever. Available in sizes for men, women, and kids. Go check them out right now.
Yeah, I'm done now.
You were talking, she was saying wisdom, and she was saying that we're
Yeah,
not
so I thought about it. I was like, oh my God, that's so sad. And at the same time, how much is this? Because she was speaking about more in the way men look at the value of women. And I thought, it also depends on what kind of man you're with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, in the maturity in that man's life that you are with. So, you know, if somebody's way younger, they probably see what's out there. But I had this conversation with Lewis the other day, and he said, you know, and that's the beautiful aspect about thinking of us as spiritual beings living in a human body. Because what you fall in love with a person, what you start seeing is the beauty inside starts glowing more than the beauty outside as time passes by and experiences and things that you live together.
I think there are so many people that are going against it though. Like Pamela Anderson is incredible.
God bless that
Kate
woman.
Winslet, phenomenal.
Yes.
Alicia Keys going on red carpets with no makeup on except for skincare. Like if you're looking for it, there are actually so many incredible examples of people. That was just a few people that I've been seeing talking about this and being like, I actually love my life and I'm 50. I love my life at the age of 60. Like, I love my skin. I love my hair. Like, there is so many. If you're looking for that, I think there are a good amount of examples of people who are actually like, I don't care. Julia Roberts, phenomenal.
Also, I recently just heard about the grandmother hypothesis.
Oh.
So I don't know if you, so everyone's like, ooh.
Go on, give us the hypothesis.
So basically, it's like, why do women live beyond our periods, right? Because it's like, if we biologically people
Yeah, that's it, they're out.
procreate, why do we keep going? And it's the grandmother hypothesis. We have wisdom. We have knowledge that other people don't know and never haven't seen. Men have been out in the wild killing animals. We understand. We understand that if your baby's skin color turns slightly red, it means they could have a fever. It's the grandmother hypothesis, and that is why we women are so damn valuable as we age. We just have to believe we need more people like the Pamela Andersons of the world. That's why I wanted us in onesies, because when we hang out, we are like this. We hang out, we are comfortable, and I want people to see the real humanity behind women instead of what do they look like? Do I like them? Right? Like, let's stop passing judgment.
Yeah.
And I like the onesies. I also like the makeup. I gotta say that.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
Lewis loves when I'm not wearing makeup. He's always telling me, I prefer you with no makeup. But I enjoy doing my makeup. And that is a different, maybe it's a cultural thing because I am Latina, but it's something that us, you know, my mom does it, my grandma does it.
Course.
Well, she's passed away already, but you know, she used to do it. So it's like, there's like a fine line of when do you do things for yourself?
Yes.
And when do you do things to impress other people or for other people, right?
Totally.
All right, guys, are you ready to move on?
Yes.
Because we've got so much to
I
talk
know.
about. All right, in really making sure that we talk about the things that people really struggle with, I don't know if you guys have ever gone to Reddit stories, and it's Am I the Arsehole? And now we've got a version here at Women of Impact called Am I the Mean Girl?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, what it is, it's a pretty long story, so you're going to have to bear with me. But what I want you to do is this side, cue post-production graphics, please, is going to be Mean Girls. And this side, cue graphics, Nice Girls. Okay. All right. Mean girls, nice girls. Okay. As I read the story, if this woman is a mean girl or a nice girl.
We're role-playing.
So what you want to
I could get there.
So we find it this way. So now what I want you to do is I want you to get up and sit on the side as I read the story. So if I say something that changes your mind, it's like, oh no, she's not nice. I want you to get up and move over to the other side.
Okay.
So you guys happen to be on these sides. As soon as I start reading the story, mean girl, nice girl.
Okay.
We got the rules?
Yeah.
Done. So I want to know your perceptions of if this girl is a good friend or a bad friend. Is she a mean girl or a nice girl? All right, are we ready?
Ready.
So this is Am I the Mean Girl for not wanting to babysit my friend's kid? I am 28 years old and Mia is 34. We've been best friends for 11 years. I love her like a sister and until now we've never fallen out. Neither of us have family close by or wide circle of friends, so I really want to try and resolve this issue as best I can. She's like, aww.
Yeah, I don't
all
think
right, that's nice. All right, about
I'll
5
just put my feet here.
Come over here. I'm on this side as well. All right, cameras, widen. All right, about 5 years ago, Mia told me that if she hadn't met a man by the time she turned 35, then she would go to the sperm donor route and become a single mother. That time has now arrived, so she's planned on starting the IVF process and getting pregnant next year. I fully support her decision and I think she'll make an incredible parent with or without a partner. The problem started a couple of months ago when she casually mentioned over dinner that her future baby will spend time with me. I laughed and reminded her I've never had any maternal instincts, so the three of us will need to hang out as a trio because I'll be new to being an auntie. She asked, what did I mean by that? So I clarified, I wouldn't be babysitting as I'm not comfortable being responsible for a small child on my own.
Me neither, and I'm a mum. So.
Everyone's saying, oh, nice. All right. But I would happily spend time with both of them. Mia went quiet and then moved the conversation along, so I didn't think much of it. Fast forward to yesterday when we were in her car and Mia unexpectedly launched into a story about her friend in Spain who also used a sperm donor to become a single mother, and her friendship circle have been helping look after the baby so she can continue to build her career.
Mia should be in the Mean Girls.
Oh my
All right, so Mia's over here. All right. Mia then said, having a strong female support network is so important when raising children. I love that we would do anything for each other.
Oh, she's guilt tripping
Bit
her.
manipulative.
Yeah.
All
right, we've got the mother here.
Mia's a bitch.
I noticed she was putting a big emphasis on children and childcare. So again, I reminded her I wouldn't be able to babysit, but was quick to let her know I would support her in any way I could. I told her I would cook, clean, keep her company, be at the hospital, buy her child whatever they need. Anything outside of babysitting solo.
Sounds great.
I know, I want her as a
That's
friend.
sweet.
She laughed and said, it's so funny, you have no idea how much you're going to love this baby and you'll enjoy taking care of your godchild when you realise.
Well, when that happens, then maybe she will. But
Yeah.
so far,
She also might not.
Yeah, she also might not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alarm bells were going off, so I admittedly took a blunt tone and told her, it's not going to be my kid, it's hers, and I'm not comfortable with the responsibility of looking after a baby on my own. I have sensory issues and anxiety. Screaming kids make me panic in a big way. I'm not doing it and I'm not changing my mind. She looked genuinely hurt and said most people would do anything to help out a single mum. And she couldn't understand why I wouldn't do this for her. She also said it's worrying and abnormal for me to be so nervous about looking after a baby, and mentioned she doesn't have anyone else to help, so this has come as a horrible surprise.
I think we should
don't like
also
this
just
friend.
accentuate that Mia hasn't had the baby yet, so she doesn't even know what entails looking after a baby. Just gonna
And
put
she's
out
made
there.
that choice herself. to have that baby and be a single mum.
Yeah.
That's the choice she's made.
And also, what is she doing?
Now she
By
just
saying
wants everyone
these
else
things
to do it with her.
friend. Guilt
Yeah.
trip, I think you said it earlier, right? Guilt. So the last line,
That can be your next movie.
she dropped me home and we haven't spoken since. I feel awful about it. Am I the mean girl?
No.
No,
No.
she's not.
She just wanted free childcare.
You know,
She's
okay.
setting a boundary, which is very healthy. What are
I
you gonna
also,
say?
well, I think there's two things here, and I think this helps a lot of friendships. You shouldn't analyze hypothetical situations either. Like, neither of them have had the child doesn't even exist yet. She's not even gone through the IVF process. So this is very hypothetical. So I think it's very, very hard to judge reactions on hypothetical situations when neither one of them are a mother. So neither one of them understands what it entails, and neither one of them understands, you know, any of it, the feelings, the emotions, the actual tasks at hand in looking after a child. So first of all, I think friendships will do a lot better if you don't discuss hypothetical situations that nobody is in, and then it result in this. Like, that's just sad at that point.
This is actually really interesting as in kind of a macro view of friendship, because I think it does get in the way of a lot of dynamics, which is the expectation that you put on each other to be something that you're not. Like, I really believe that friendship is like, you meet another person and you accept them fully for who they are. And this is actually really good, in my opinion, very good advice for, you know, making new friends, is like, you go in and what you do is you basically create a safe space where the other person feels seen, understood, heard, and accepted. And hopefully they do it back to you. And that's what you have to obviously keep an eye out for. But, you know, along the way when you're doing that, you can decide, oh, this person isn't someone I want to be friends with because their values don't align with mine. But also part of friendship, and the beautiful thing about friendship, I think, is the fact that you accept each other and you accept each other's boundaries and each other's differences, and, you know, you can have different views.
So speaking of boundaries, so you mentioned boundaries, you actually mentioned boundaries as well. So this was one of the things from your community, Marta, that people asked you. How do you set boundaries with friends when they don't actually respect them? So now tying in what we just spoke about, how would you think about, in fact, actually, would you want other ladies, let's come together. So, because to your point, in an ideal world, we accept each other. In an ideal world, if you're not a mummy person or you're not a baby, like it isn't a big deal. But unfortunately, we realize there are scenarios where someone is going to still have expectations. So how would you in that scenario, assuming that that's what someone right now is having, right? I don't know how to set a boundary. I've tried to say what I really think. I've tried to show it with respect, and they're just not respecting it. Because I think we can all agree letting go of our boundaries or negotiating our boundaries shouldn't be the right option, because then you're now telling yourself that you're not worthy. So what would you do in that scenario?
I think you're talking to a people pleaser. So it's a new lesson in my life, because I've been not good at setting boundaries. So it's very hard for me, because I want to, you know, I'm a peacemaker and I want to have everybody happy and all of that stuff. So that is been a big challenge for me. But I've learned that you can set boundaries lovingly. It doesn't have to come up, you know, sometimes it happens to people that when you have not set a boundary for a long time, all of a sudden you explode. And then everybody goes, what happened to her? You know, she was so nice. And then suddenly, well, that's because you were failing yourself. The first person you're disrespecting by not setting a boundary is yourself. And yet, because you haven't set the boundary, you can feel disrespected by the other people.
Yeah.
But it's like a quiet feeling underneath that starts brewing. So I think having the ability to learn how to communicate a boundary with a lot of love. And so when you communicate a boundary, I think with a lot of love, you don't start with, you did this, you're doing that, you are doing this, and I don't like it. You start with the way you are feeling.
I was reading actually something recently about the kind of in between of asking questions. So even just our reaction, I guess, to that is like, yeah, well, like Mia's the mean girl, right? And so we're taking the stance of like why she's in the right. And I think there's a middle ground, which is like, get curious.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, like Mia, like I would love to understand, like, you know, why you feel that way. I think also comes the book like Radical Candor, which is like this place of like coming from like a loving place, but also like talking about your boundaries. So I think there's this place in between that you can get to quite often by asking loving questions. And, you know, even myself listening to that, I was kind of like, yeah, Mia's the mean girl. But then if we actually pull back, ground ourselves, take a breath and go, okay, what is going on in Mia's life where what actually is she seeking? It might not even be that she's actually seeking somebody to look after her child. She just wants reassurance that she has someone to turn to when she's struggling.
Like, I know I can cope with this because I have this.
Yeah.
person.
Opening the space for that conversation.
Okay, now
is
I'm going to make it
important.
even worse though, because what you guys are saying is amazing. I love the freaking advice. The problem is not everyone in the real world perceives it like that. So you can do all that, like, okay, me, I'm so, you know, let me talk to you. So
Yeah, but they
imagine
don't
you do
receive it.
exactly.
I've actually been in that situation.
Okay, so now when someone doesn't receive, I want to get to like the real hard thing. When someone doesn't receive it, and you try, you do everything you just said, and you reach out, and you're empathetic, and you understand where at some point, if someone keeps ignoring your boundaries, what do you do?
Well, I feel I have obviously changed a lot over the years, as all of us, I'm sure, have. But for a lot of my friends, when I first came to LA, or even some of my friends at home, I was always readily available because I hadn't figured out parts of my life. And so if someone wanted to go for a workout in the middle of the day, I'd be like, yeah, of course I'll come with you. Or if someone wanted me to show up last minute to just go house hunting with them, I'd be like, yeah, of course, I'll be there. So I was like that friend that anyone could call on to just be readily available. And so I became not that person. And what I realized is it takes a lot of training, like what we were talking about before, of when I am changing, I kind of have to let people know that I am trying to make a change in these areas, or that I am no longer that person. And so for a friend or a few friends, they were so confused why I'm not readily available for them anymore. Like why I'm not okay when you just start canceling, why I'm not okay when you decide that you just want me to show up and then you cancel on me. And it was such an interesting switch, because then the conversation was like, oh my gosh, but you used to be so like this. And
they say it as a negative. It's never like as a
no,
compliment.
it's like you used to not care about these things. Or
should
like,
bloody
you've
hope so.
changed.
Well, I'm supposed to stay exactly the same for the rest
or you
of my
didn't used to
life.
care about stuff like this. Or oh my gosh, you
Yeah,
become like so strict with this and this. And I would take it really personally, because I, again, I'm the type of person who's like, no, I want to make sure I'm there for this person and doing this and doing this. And then I realized that I just had to set a very clear boundary, and that meant not seeing that person as much, because they weren't accepting that I actually am enjoying being this new person. And so I also think it's okay for friendships to ebb and flow, and sometimes you're close and maybe sometimes you need a break to like catch up with each other. And so I think, you know, I'm someone who tries to hang on to something till the bitter end. And I've really stopped being like that, because actually it sours it even further. So holding on to a friendship where it's just not working and you keep butting heads.
Okay, but what about when you feel like you can't afford to lose that person? Setting a boundary is really hard for people, because psychologically, we feel like if we set a boundary, what we're going to do is push the other person away. And if we feel like maybe we don't have a partner, so we feel kind of lonely. We saw the stats on loneliness earlier, right? We don't have a lot of friends, or that person's friends with all of our friends. And if I distance myself from this person, it makes it awkward for my social circle. Whatever it might be, we feel like we're such social creatures. We are nothing if not our attachments. And so going one layer deeper for the person who is really afraid of doing that.
I was so afraid. But for me, it was like, at what point can I keep interacting with someone that my peace is being disturbed? If that person is also not doing that work and not aware of how they are acting in a friendship, then it's not a reciprocal friendship at that point. And so I think just as a relationship requires each person to want to grow and change, you know what it is? For me, a boundary means I'm not gonna, if I give to you and I'm bitter about it, that's actually not good for anyone. Me giving to you in a bitter attitude and feeling bitter about it after isn't giving. And so the boundary is actually protecting the energy I give to you and protecting the energy that I feel.
Loving boundaries is different than when you finally have to say, you know what, you continue your life and I'll continue my life. When it becomes toxic, that's different. But there's steps before that, and within the relationship. Like even even with family members who can be like, your sister can be your best friend. And then there could be things that you can find out going, wait a second, I need to set a boundary here. But the way to communicate that boundary could be very loving. It could be also saying like, listen, I am working on this in my life. I discovered I'm a people pleaser. And I also discovered that I'm building resentment when I'm doing things that I go beyond myself. I'm discovering that I'm putting everybody else before me. And it's important for me to get your support. I'm communicating these things to you because you may notice in the future that I'm not as easily available, but that has nothing to do with the love I feel for you.
I think if you go inwards and say, what is it that I need in order to show up like this? Write that out. Then what are the boundaries around that I need to set in order for me to show up like this? And this is exactly what I did in the end, where I then took that, and every single person that I was with, I was like, oh, and these are my boundaries. So my husband, baby, these are my boundaries. You can't cheat on me and you can't hit me. Either of those, I'm out the door. As a friend, you can't gossip behind my back or backstab me. You're done, right? Like being able to be honest with it, where you know it is the good for you, so that you can have a good friendship. I think for me eliminates the people pleasing, because now it's not about other people.
Yes.
All right, you guys ready to go on to the next Am I a Mean Girl story? All right. This is about, am I the mean girl for not choosing sides in my friend's breakup? So me and my friend Courtney have been friends since our sophomore year in high school. I've also known her ex-boyfriend, we'll call him Jason, for 8 years. Jason is my husband's best friend, and that's how I met him. I got to know Jason pretty well for about a year before he ever met Courtney. I introduced Jason to Courtney. I told him all about her and he fell in love before they even met. I set up the brunch date and they met the next morning, and the rest is history. They had a lot of ups and downs over the years, and I would always be on both of their sides when they would come to me, and I always kept it confidential. I would never tell either of them what the other one would say to me. If Jason came to me, I never told Courtney what he said to me, and vice versa. And both of them knew that the other side was actually talking to me. There was never a problem with that. Until it's been 7 years that they've been together, then Jason gets a job as a highway patrol officer, and for whatever reason, he just can't fathom having someone at home anymore. So when they took the break, I was there for Courtney every single day, reassuring her that no matter the outcome, she was going to be okay. I helped her get help with getting an anxiety meds and seeing a doctor. I helped make sure she was still remembering to eat. Some days I gave her advice. Sometimes I let her cry and vent. I'm definitely sitting on this side. You think she's a mean girl?
Oh, sorry, no.
Know.
No, I don't.
No,
I'm
no.
just
She's nice.
I'm waiting till the end.
I don't,
Okay,
yeah,
all
I don't
right.
know if I think she's a mean girl, but I
all
don't
right,
know if
all
I
right.
agree with her either. But I want to see the end
Okay.
as well.
I'm on your side, but I'll just
Come on
squeeze.
over, girl.
Yeah.
But I was there for her every single day, and then the day came when he actually broke up with her. Afterwards, she found out that I was still talking to him. I didn't talk to him every day like I did with her, but I still talked to him. Then she started getting distant and snapping at me of how weird things were. Eventually, she told me that she was upset because she's lost literally everything and my best friend can't even take my side. But I told her that I wasn't going to choose sides because Jason was my friend too, and he didn't do anything wrong. Like if he had cheated or was an AH. What's an AH?
In some way.
Asshole?
AH.
Okay, well there you go, thank you. Asshole, beep. In some way, I would absolutely choose her side. But that didn't happen. I don't drop people out of my life unless they deserve it. So because of that, she said, maybe one day we can be friends again. And I said, well, I love you and I always want to be here. And then she blocked me.
Wow.
Everything, including my phone number.
So am
Am I the mean girl?
Oh,
She's not.
No, not the mean girl.
No.
I initially, when I was there earlier, I initially was like, I put myself in a situation, I think I've been in this situation before, where I am friends with both parties. If there's one person that's really hurting, I understand the desire not to share your best friend with your ex. And so I'm a very loyal person, and maybe to a fault, but I can see myself in a situation being like, I think she needs me more than you need me right now, so I'm going to focus on her. And I would almost make her feel like, even though I have no issue with this person, like I'm not going to go and comfort him and then comfort her, because I think that's quite unnatural for people when you've been broken up with. But it's not her fault, and I don't agree with her blocking her. at all. And I think also it depends how close you are with the other person.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I mean. Like I sort of think just take your friend's side.
But that's what she's trying to
I don't think she's a mean girl, but I think that
Can we sit in the middle? Can we just
everyone come in.
We're all in the middle. See, the
I
problem
don't think it's
is,
being handled well.
How would you handle it?
if you are that friend, I think I agree with what Audrey is saying. Like, you know, clearly your first friend is suffering a lot, but you've also developed a relationship with the guy.
But also the partner,
Right?
her partner is best friends with this the person they're broken up with, so they
You
can't
give
not see each other.
space. You give space to everybody for
world
stuff.
examples though, because
Exactly.
we're all friends.
Yeah.
Our husbands
Our friends.
are friends.
Yeah, exactly.
So plus, in fact, when I was thinking about this, because I was like, well, you gotta be loyal to your
But
homie.
you probably knew the husbands before you knew the partners.
I knew Jay before I knew
Exactly.
you. I knew Lewis before
Exactly.
I knew you, and I knew Matt before I knew you.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit.
All knew me before Darius.
Sorry, Darius. So part of me was just like, fuck, that would be actually really hard because I love your husbands.
Yeah.
Like, they're such good dudes, and I've
Yeah.
known them for a long time. But because they introduced me to you guys, and I'm so close to you now, I'm like, well, shit, that would be really hard.
I think Audrey had a really good answer. I also think like the way I always try and like look at my life or my friendships is trying to treat the other person as I would want to be treated. So if the shoe was on the other foot, what would she want in the other way around? And I think that's something. I know there's a rule that you shouldn't treat people how you want to be treated because everyone wants to be treated
Differently.
their own way,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But I also try and look through that lens sometimes around it. If how would I feel in that?
Yeah.
I probably would just want that period
Comfort.
of safety with my best friend.
And breakups
To
are so
heal a little
painful. Like
Yes.
they are
And
so
she
They
was the one
are.
that was broken up with, which is
Yes,
also
exactly. Exactly.
I'm going to make it even harder now, guys. Instead of it being their husband or their boyfriend, what if it was one of us? What if you guys fell out? So instead of it being an external guy, right now it's like your two girlfriends.
Why did we fall out?
Why?
Does that-
Who would
so-
try to find
let
a
me
way
ask,
for...
Let me ask you a question. Does that matter?
Yes.
It does,
Yes, it
really.
does.
Why does that matter?
Because if
Depending on
we
who
fell
did
out
what.
because, and this is a bad example, but I got with Lewis, let's say.
Yeah. It's a matter
then I'm
of
sorry,
values.
but I'm that.
It's a matter of values.
You're right, actually.
Yeah. Or if I like,
you, man.
did
That's really
something
mean. Why would you do that to Marta?
I'm nervous with these hypotheticals.
I don't think I want to be with Lewis.
Throw in the energy, but throw in the hypotheticals.
I don't know. I don't think I'd be good with...
I just want to the differences between us. I'm like, yeah, let's do the worst case scenario. You guys are like, the energy. And she's just like, I don't like this.
I'm like, no, I'm tapping out. I don't do
I think that happens so often, guys. It's the girls group where some other girls have a different dynamic over something. Let's say, for instance, she smashed something of yours and it was really personal and you're really upset and she didn't apologize. It's like, well, it was an accident. But yeah, it was something that was important to you. So let's say it's not even a clear cut, like someone was right and someone's wrong. What do you do in that scenario?
You try and bring them back together.
Yes, exactly.
You try and say like, you know, I really
guys
think
love each other.
You love each other, and then you talk to them separately, and you say like, you know, you've been friends with this person for a long time. I'm sure if you just explained how much it meant to you and how hurt you are that they haven't apologized, you could fix it. And I know maybe she's handling it wrong, but she's obviously just hurt. You go to the other person and say, like, also, what is the sum of your friendship, right? If they've been friends for a month, they might be like, well, screw them because I don't know them and I don't trust them.
Yeah, that's different.
But if you've been friends for a long time and then something like that happens, it's like, you know, reminding them that there's a whole friendship that needs to be considered before you really cut someone out.
If they did end up having an argument and they didn't want to be friends, if I was in that position, I also don't think I would expect my other friends to take sides.
Yeah.
I honestly I used to be, but I'm not like that at all anymore. I'm like, I don't like that person, go hang out with them, but I don't want to join.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, you never own a person. So why are
Yeah.
you gonna why are you gonna tell them what to do, what not to do with their space and time?
Can I highlight what you're saying right now? Because I really think for people listening, watching, that's such an important thing.
Yeah.
The idea that you don't, because when you're younger,
I used to be like that.
So
So
guilty.
much. That's my best friend.
My friend, like, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah, I'm not like that at all anymore.
yeah, you're really not like that, man.
My-
I would
I-
never, I mean, maybe
know.
you've never
I
been
really
allowed
like-
to be like that. I used to be
My
like that.
favorite thing is bringing people together to then
Yes.
become friends.
100%.
Like so
But I
many of best friends that I now know have come together through random games nights that I've done.
What I will say is, like, female friendships especially, they can be so intense. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a kind of a beautiful way. Like, you connect on this level that is so intense and so pure, and you feel so at home with each other that I think, especially if you're kind of feeling a little bit scarce in that area and you don't have many friends, or you don't have other people that give you that real like source of support and joy and fun and like all of that, when you see them having another friend, you feel so threatened. You're like, oh my God, what if this thing that I have become reliant on and that I love so much disappears or goes away?
Also, it comes down to like the surrounding friendships of the group.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, if two of us were to like have a falling out, I also think that our group has enough like emotional intelligence, or we've been around the block long enough, enough experiences to be like, hey, look, we don't want to see you arguing. Like, can we like facilitate a conversation where we like help you guys resolve this? Because like we're seeing both sides, and like at the end of the day, we know you guys still love each other. So like let's help you figure it out, and like just having that place that sometimes you just need that different energy that comes in and calms everything down. But what I do see or have witnessed is like sometimes there's friendship groups where
they're waiting for that to happen.
and they don't want it to resolve.
Yes.
There's people
Wow.
you fall out around
Exactly.
the wrong
So
people.
Wow.
It's like
Or the
that
external people that
fuel,
aren't part of the group will be like, great, I've got you now.
Yeah.
This is
there's
crazy.
different
That's going about the
scenarios at
thought of
play.
like you own people.
Yes.
Yeah.
As
That's
a teenager,
possessive.
though, I really did think that. Like, I'm so with you. Maybe it was a Brit thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be
But-
like on the phone to my best friend, and messaging when we got like everything MSN when we got home. It was like you just don't stop talking to your best friend.
Yeah, you really
And
don't.
then your best
And
friend.
your best friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No
I
one else
wonder
can have them.
I wonder why as well. Like when you
friends.
think about like our survival, I go back to biology. That's always my answer to everything. So go back to it's like your survival mechanism was being part of a village, and so now if you get ostracized, that back in the day meant that you could potentially die by being eaten by a bear. So the idea of being ostracized feels so badly as a survival mechanism. So now think about in a female dynamic where everybody's friends, and then one person gets in they get in an argument, and then one person gets pushed out. Honestly, there were so many questions and comments that we got from everybody that there wasn't enough time to get through everything. But that was one of the big ones where it's like, I've been pushed out of the girl group. And it's like when you think about going back to the stats at the beginning where loneliness can really be that damaging, and then think about why it's so bad for our health and why it ends up like making us feel like we can be dying inside. Okay, so now we're actually gonna move on to Audrey, your community. So you reached out and you asked them, hey guys, what are you struggling with? You had a lot of responses. All right, so do you actually wanna read your community one? Do it, it's right there.
What to do if you cannot stand your best friend's boyfriend and she wants you all to hang out?
Let's paint the picture then. Okay, so it's your good friend and she's dating a guy and you meet him and you sense some narcissistic characteristics. The problem that people have is, do I stay quiet so that I don't lose my friend?
Yeah.
Do I speak up and know that I can potentially lose them? And especially we all know narcissistic people, especially narcissistic men, can be extremely persuasive and manipulative, and that's their superpower.
Yeah.
So talk to me, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. So, so this particular friend I have, she started dating a guy who at the beginning said something about his relationship with his ex-wife having ended and he already got a divorce. Then later, the truth started coming out. They were actually still living together. They were having conversations about being separated, but not really having happened yet. And so as the time was passing, I'm hearing all these different, all of a sudden the truth that was the truth now is not the truth. Now it's a different truth. Now it's a different scenario. And I'm seeing my friend feeling pain for the situation and still being in that relationship. It was really hard for me, but I just had to speak to her about the value I see in her as a woman and how it hurts my heart to see her suffer through all of these situations, but I am still her friend and I'm gonna be with her through all that time. But I just gotta be very honest. I don't feel at the moment I wanna meet this person. And
How did she respond when you said that?
she felt sad, but she said she understands. And I said, listen, it's just a matter of values at this moment. You know my values, and I know your values, but at this moment, my values are not in alignment with this person. maybe it'll change in the future when his situation gets completely clear and he actually gets a divorce. But at the moment, I feel very conflicted about it, not about our friendship. And I believe you deserve something way better in your life. However, it's your life to go through, it's your path. So I'm going to be here next to you, but I just really have to also tell you what I think and how I feel about that situation. So, yeah.
If I wasn't your friend already, I would want you to be my friend. That's so beautiful. Like that way of approaching it is so beautiful. All right, so now we're actually going to go on to one of the things that came up over and 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 over again is how the hell do you make friends as adults? Now, what's amazing, in fact, I've got a stat for you. A 2017 YouGov American survey found that 41% of women over the age of 30 reported finding it difficult to make new friends. 41%. That is heartbreaking. So then I literally looked at, because I invited you guys on, right? Like, let's do a girls hangout, let's record it. And then I start planning and I'm like, hang on a minute, we're all over 30. We all came from different countries. We all have our partners. We all have our businesses. Like, if you were doing a checkbox of all the things that make for our friendship not to work, it's all of those elements because we're all so busy. We come from different countries. We didn't know each other. We'd have different personalities, different ways of thinking. And yet you are my homies of my all-time freaking homies. So I really feel like we are equipped to start to share some of our own stories between us of how we like met and the difficulties of being an adult and how we were able to navigate it. So in thinking about the difficulties of the countries, because I think when you've got your established friends from childhood, it almost becomes friendship out of proximity and who your parents introduce you to. But leaving the country, going far, it's like, it's kind of like a blank slate. You don't know if you're going to meet anyone that knows you and you don't have that history. And actually, Danielle, it was your community that very much, this was very strong for them. And is it okay for me to read the person's name out?
Just do the first name because I didn't say it.
The first name is Doctor.
Right.
Oh, Doctor.
That's not their first name.
Sarah.
Okay, Sarah.
Dr. Sarah.
Sarah. How do you deal with being ghosted by friends when you move away? It really hurts. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest. I'm currently accidentally doing that to one of my friends in the UK.
Accidentally? What do you mean accidentally?
Because I keep meaning to reply to her, but I'm so bloody busy. So now I look, she texts me because of the fires, and she's like, Lisa, are you okay? I hadn't texted her for like a month.
Oh, yeah.
And so to her, it looks like I've ghosted her. But to me,
I'm going to raise my hand here. I've done that.
Yeah, I've done that too. I've done that too.
Horrendous to do that to a person, quite frankly. I'm not saying that you...
No, it's
I've
horrendous.
done that.
I call myself on my own shit, girl.
Yeah.
It's bad.
I had a friend saying to me, did I do anything to you? And I was like, what? She hasn't done anything to you. What does she mean? And I called her and she was like, you have not been responding to my text. I was like, oh my God, I am so sorry.
My cousin asked me that. She's like, did I upset you? And I was like, no. I'm like, why did you think that? She was like, because you didn't respond to me. I've not heard from you. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I've just been busy.
Is that from, who did you say that was?
My cousin.
Okay, so you've known them for your entire life. Yeah. Who was your friend? How long have you known her for?
20-something years.
Okay, I wonder as well if it's old friendship versus new friendship. Because my friend that I'm talking about that I haven't managed to get back to her, that I fear she thinks I'm ghosting her, is from an old friendship.
No, mine is, I'm terrible with my phone because all these messages get stacked up on.
No, I get
and I don't
that.
go to the last one.
But knowing how busy you are, I'm like, the woman's on a shoot in Mexico, probably traveling on a plane. Like, I just go, oh yeah, she's freaking busy.
Yeah,
I don't go, she's ghosting me.
Yeah,
Right.
same.
Do you know what I also think? If we think back to when we were kids, because we all grew up with that, like mobile phone, like social media wasn't that when we were kids, right? I also do think there's a challenge now where we have a lot more acquaintances than we ever would have had before. And so you spend a lot of time getting back to acquaintances. Like if we take away social media, there's actually not that many texts to deal with, but it's because we're getting texts, we're getting WhatsApps, we're getting Instagram DMs, we're getting
My friend DMs me and texts me. I'm like,
Slack messages.
just pick.
like,
Why are we having a separate conversation on DM while we're also texting? I'm like, and then I try to take over the text, and you're still replying back to me on DM. I'm like, no, I can't.
Plus, Europeans, the Brits, it's every time my
WhatsApp
sister and
too.
everyone's like, WhatsApp. I'm like, this bloody WhatsApp. I don't use WhatsApp. But here's what
But there are some responsibility on us to respond.
That's what I mean. Exactly.
I think that's the challenge of where then we need to like. I think that's why we get behind, because there's so many platforms.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, if you're not a social media person, then you also don't have a lot happening in your DMs. Like my sister-in-law doesn't post on social, so no one's DMing her. Whereas, like, we're DMing each other, we're texting, but then there's like,
do you guys feel like, do you guys get this where you feel anxious about responding thoughtfully to someone you love?
Yes,
versus
because then I
on
sound
DMs,
short.
I'm like,
and then I sound short. I'm
leave
like,
it,
yes,
and you leave
definitely.
it. And so I don't do it because I'm like, I just need to make sure that I send something really thoughtful.
Same. Yes,
And then I
And then days go by, and now you feel guilty that you didn't send it when you sent it. Now you feel guilt of the guilt of the guilt.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I need to be
And then now, exactly. And I was like, oh, it's been doing
I do voice notes.
Someone sent me the sweetest voice note though, but it was so nice. I was like, oh, I must intentionally reply to that, and I've still not replied.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been 2 years.
You said, I love that you pushed back, because I was like, well, just accept your friend. You said, well, no, sometimes like you need to like
I had
change.
to notice.
So I actually think there's two parts to this. I know that if you don't text me back, Radi, it doesn't mean that you don't care about me, you don't love me.
Fair.
That's what I mean by accept. But I also think, to your point, if you're in a good, solid friendship where you can trust each other, to be able to say, look, I know this is your way of doing it.
Totally.
I know you don't like texting, but you know what? If I want to get a hold of you because I need something, what can I do? And having that discussion. So I didn't plan to. I'd love to share a story that just happened with me and you recently.
Yes.
So something has happened in your life. Someone has passed away.
Yeah, my
and it's
grandpa.
been very hard for you.
Yes.
And as your friend group, we were like, we're here for you. So I text, like, call me anytime. And then you call me and my phone's on Do Not Disturb. I felt so bad, because I'm like,
But I understand.
no, and see, going back to the understand. But to your point, I want to do better. You understand, but I want to do better. So I put my phone on silent, but for my own peace of mind, I do that every weekend. It didn't dawn on me though that you would call me. So I go, okay, I switch my phone off, my boundary, right, for peace of mind. But I'm a home, like I'm a ride or die. So I wasn't there for you. So immediately I was like, this is all your fault, Lisa. And I took that on with pride. I don't say that to make myself feel bad. It is my fault. How do I do better? How do I do a better friend? So immediately I was like, I'm going to put you on my to break through my Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, you said.
And so immediately I was like, I'm putting you on my Do Not Disturb because I want you to know, as your friend, I want to do better. And I didn't even plan to say that today, but that was something that has been weighing on me, that like I just really sincerely
Lisa.
apologize that I didn't pick up the phone, because that's just shitty when I promised you I would and I didn't. Like,
No. I don't feel any. Yeah, I just thought you were busy, and that's okay. I don't.
But even that, it's like,
I really feel like I'm in the middle of
But
this,
sometimes.
guys. Oh my god, please.
I just hug you as well.
But like, should I move? I was like looking in both their faces. I was like, shall I?
But again, though, going back to me making sure that I vocalize that, because I never personally even want to hold on to it for myself. I don't want to feel like that. And then it's important for me to say that because I want you to know my intention, and then for you to be so gracious in accepting my apology. Like, this was like a
Oh,
cathartic.
thank you.
very
You didn't need to.
therapeutic.
Thank
For
you
me
so much,
too.
but you didn't need to
That
apologize.
was just weighing on
I'm
me.
gonna
so
do it this way.
Yeah.
We're gonna go like this.
Please, yeah.
I'm so excited. I love you.
Lovely.
So sweet.
Okay, so what we're doing, musical chairs right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
moving around.
so oh god, I've lost my train of thought. That was too emotional. Okay, so one of the things that people are also saying as adults. Oh, by the way, I told her, I was like, Marta is the funniest freaking human on the planet. When this woman tells stories, I'm like, I don't laugh as much in life than when I'm around you. Like, you have me in stitches, girl, in stitches. Okay, so one of the things that is really difficult, actually, I'm just going to read a stat and a survey because it's so like eye-opening to hear how many women are struggling with friendships. So a 2017 study surveyed how many people navigate differences in friendships. It found that 56% of people said they could be friends with someone who holds different views, but the likelihood of maintaining those friendships decreases when the differences were related to deeply held beliefs.
Deeply held beliefs. Understood.
Yeah. one of the things that came to mind as I was like going through, wow, the stats are really horrifying, is me and you, Rods. So when I first met you, you're vegan. Everyone knows you're and it's not like you really care so much about animals. Like it's not just a health thing, it is everything for you. And I'm like one of the biggest meat eaters you've probably ever met. And I've had massive gut issues, and meat was the thing that saved me. Like I can legitimately say meat saved my life. I was 20 pounds lighter. But having met you, it's a kind of a way of thinking, okay, we're very different. On paper, by almost definition, we wouldn't be able to stay friends for long based on this stat as well, right? Because how are we ever going to go out for dinner? How are we ever going to hang out? But yet we made it work. And so I really wanted to talk about that. Number one, I think you have always been gracious of where I've stood. You've never tried to convince me otherwise. You've never tried to pressure me. You've never tried to make me feel guilty. You've never tried to make me feel bad over it. You've always respected it. And so I feel the same with you in your beliefs, and I wanted to share a little quick story, and then I'd love to hear your side of it.
Tell me.
But one of the things is you were coming over to my house for dinner. And so it was you and Jay, we were going to double date, and I was ordering food. And so I was like, and you were very, honest. You were like, hey, look, I don't eat food from anywhere that cooks me. So I order Cafe Gratitude, shout out to Cafe Gratitude. So I order it for you, and then I was like, well, shit, do you eat off plates where meat is eaten? So I called up Jay, and I was like, Jay, I'll go out and buy plates, but please let me know, like if, and he was like, no, it's fine. But like, I so wanted to make sure you felt comfortable in my presence, and then vice versa. You invited me around to your house for dinner. I need protein, like I need meat. So Jay was super respectful, and I love the honesty that I have with you guys. And Jay was like, we don't let meat in our house. So I was like, thank you. Now, so I'm eating chicken breast as I'm driving to your house, and then I come to your house, and then we had like beautiful food, and like I had my protein. Neither one of us felt bad about being honest about where our beliefs were and where that line was. And when I was thinking back to how much we respected each other, like I think that is how people out there, and like obviously we've got so many other stories that I'd love for you guys to share, but that was the one that came to mind that I'm like, it didn't even dawn on me that we wouldn't be friends because of that.
Yeah, me neither. I think, I feel like I've grown up in so many situations like that where I've become such good friends with someone who has either a completely different religion to me, but holds their religious values so dear to them. Like Adil is my friend Adil, he is basically like a brother to me. He's known me since I was born. He grew up Muslim, I grew up in a Hindu house, but our parents grew up going to each other's house to celebrate each other's festivals. So like when they were celebrating Eid, we'd go to their house and celebrate Eid with them. When we were doing Diwali, my mom would take over food for it. Like there was such a beautiful exchange of sharing each other's practices. So one, I appreciated that. And then two, obviously veganism is something that I'm so passionate about. And I think I used to be in a place of judgment without realizing. I didn't realize I was doing it, but my mind, because of how my body reacts and my mind reacts to meat, it's not the meat, it's me feeling how I feel about what's on the plate. Like I see it as something different.
You were judging other people that would eat meat?
Yeah, but I didn't realize I was doing that. But it was just my natural instinct of like, oh, I can't, like, I don't know how to not have a face in a certain way.
Because it means so much to you.
Because it means so much to me, and I see it in a different way. And then I realized, and I think it was Radhanath Swami who's like, I've seen him act with so much compassion. He's my spiritual teacher. And no matter what walk of path someone has, he's always like, but how can you judge? Like, who are you and who am I to judge anybody's lifestyle? Because we all have our different quirks, our different weeds, our different positive things, negative things. There are so many things that make up a person. Who are you to judge? And so I think I was definitely working on that when me and you started becoming friends. And I think it's just over time evolved to a point where I'm like, why does someone doing something that I don't want to do, doesn't mean that person overarching is a bad person, because it's not a bad value. But I really appreciate what you did, because honestly, not many people even have the capacity, like no one wants to invite me to the house because I'm so difficult to like cook for or have so many strict rules that most people get quite worried about it. And so I really appreciate that you even did that, because I think it's a difficult thing to get your head around. I have such strict rules that I'm usually like, don't worry, I'll eat before I come, or I'll figure it out myself. But that was really sweet of you.
Can I say something? I think what's really interesting about this dynamic is like what made it work was your ability to be compassionate towards each other's decisions and viewpoints, and then to communicate it. And I think like the reason people might go like, oh, I don't want to invite Radi, it might be because they're afraid that you're going to judge them, or they're afraid that they're going to hurt you, or they're afraid that they're going to do something wrong. So they go, I'm just going to avoid it altogether, which is so human, right?
I also understand that so much. I'm like, it's way easier for me to eat at home.
I think it's you guys, it's so beautiful because it's like, if you just have the conversation, if Lisa picks up the phone and goes, I just want to know, like, is this okay? Is this not okay? If you trust that the friend in front of you is a good person.
Exactly.
And you know that they're going to receive it, they're not going to judge you, and they're not, you know, if you can kind of take that leap of faith, I think you end up becoming like just
closer.
Yeah, closer.
But what about someone like, oh my God, you are officially, I think, the queen of the biggest freaking heart I've ever met.
Yeah, you really are.
You have such empathy.
Ever.
Yeah.
You will, I mean, literally, we were out one day and remember how we were all talking about like our struggles and we were like being vulnerable, and I was like, you had just gone and you're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I've got so much to do, there was so much going on, you guys had an event, and then it came to me and I'm like, yeah, I'm overwhelmed, I've got this. Audrey turns around and is like, how can I help? I'm like, you literally just told me you're about to break. And now you want to help. So in taking someone, I know you're really working on yourself, and I know that you know that just being available to everyone all the time isn't going to serve you long term. So right now, as you start to ground those roots and make sure that you're putting in boundaries, how are you looking to keep to who you really are, and your values, even if other people don't agree? Are you able to now speak up and say them like Radi and myself can?
That's such a good question. First of all, thank you for saying such lovely things. I need to learn to receive the compliment.
Receive it.
You know what? I think I personally have always been quite clear on my values, and that's why I have very strong female friendships that align with my values. And I think I've never been someone who kind of is able to flip-flop. I don't like being close to people that don't feel aligned with me, which is why, you know, you guys are such wonderful women, and I just, like, I wouldn't be able to be friends with you if I didn't think you were just such great, wonderful people. I think where I need to, and what I'm really working on in myself is like, this feeling of like, my friendship is just enough if I show up as I am, not if I do 10 things more.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
There was something very important that my therapist said, that was, if you don't help somebody, do you still feel they love you? Mm-hmm. Are you putting your value?
It's called high functioning
codependency. Terry Cole blew my mind.
Yes.
Like, I have been a high functioning
are amazing
codependent.
about this.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it made me realize how much I would do that and overextend myself to a point where I actually didn't feel good about it, but I could not help myself. It was almost like, let me embed my value in your life so that you can't get rid of me. So I'm gonna make myself so useful in your life. I'm gonna make myself indispensable so that I have so much value in your life that you can never get rid of me.
Wait, there's another angle to this, because I was coming from a different place. Like mine was when I was 8 years old, I had my best friend and she died. It was horrible. And then we moved to a different city, and then I was in school. I had another best friend, girlfriend, and she dies in a car accident.
Oh my gosh.
So at ages 8 and 9, I lost my two best girlfriends from two different cities, right? So I didn't discover that this was being brought into my adult life. I just didn't think that way. And so then somewhere inside of me, I felt if anybody was my friend, I owed them something. I don't know how to explain this, but I felt like
I relate to that.
you relate to that. So I own them. I owe you something. Like, how come you are my friend?
I'm not a good friend if I'm not
Doing those
doing
more
something
things for you. Yeah.
Exactly. What happened to me with the two best girlfriends, I realized that for a chunk of my life, I didn't have girlfriends. I had guy friends.
Because you were afraid of losing
Because
them?
I was afraid of losing them. Yes. And then somewhere there, I felt I was not deserving of having friends, girlfriends. And so then later, in anything in my life mixed with other things of how I grew up, the whole thing compacted in this thing. Like, I I feel I owe you something just because you like me.
No, I think it's feeling responsible for other people's happiness.
So my question was though, is it with every friendship or just certain friends?
I think it's with every friendship. I have it with, and I even have it with family. I have it with, if someone is unhappy, I can feel it.
I will stop everything.
And I'll do everything to make it better. I'm so uncomfortable with your unhappiness.
That's what she says, that you're trying to relieve your discomfort.
Yeah,
So the problem is half of it is you trying to relieve your discomfort. So let me fix it for you quickly, so I don't feel so much pain,
I feel guilty.
that you're in pain.
And I feel guilty that you're suffering and I'm not helping. I feel like a bad person. I feel guilty. I feel like I know. And also, when you're like that, you know you're really good at helping. You're good at problem solving. You're good at being
Makes
there
you
for
feel
others.
good. It's validation.
But even more than that, you're like, if I'm not
giving those skills
giving those skills, I'm selfish because I have the capacity right now to make someone feel better and I'm not doing it. And I feel like a bad person for not doing it. And also the last thing...
Have you tracked it back to somewhere in your childhood where you
felt
like you needed to be the parent to your parent maybe, or that you needed to show your place in your family by being this person?
I think so, for sure. And I think as well, it's like, I love service. Like I love making other people feel good. And I really enjoy that idea of like when you have extra love and extra energy to give, you pour it out into the world in a way that makes the world better. And so there's also an element of me that like really enjoys that, but sometimes it goes too far and I overstretch myself. I'm like, I'll read your dissertation by tomorrow. And then I'm like, what have I done? I don't have time to do this. And that's when it becomes a toxic trait instead of a beautiful thing.
And that was why I had asked, like, what are you doing to unwind it? Because you're so self-aware that you have realized now that it can, and I wouldn't necessarily use the word toxic, it becomes detrimental to your self-esteem, your health, and then how you show up and your confidence. And so one of the things, there's so many things, but one of the things I love about our group is that we know that about you. So we're all trying to make sure that you don't do that to yourself. Same with you. Like one of the things that really hit me when I was thinking about our dynamic and how you show up as a friend is your freaking ride or die. For everyone at home, this is my wife. She's my wife, I'm her wife. If anything ever happened to Tom or Darius, we are officially getting married. We take very good care of each other. She puts up with my white noise machine. And my mouth.
I had to put up with your white noise machine on Martha's Bachelorette.
It's like a jet. Like imagine like a plane taking off.
All the time. Consistently.
And she has a certain side of the bed that she has to sleep on, so I just get moved around.
I have to have the temperature, and you accept me for all of my things. So the fact that you accept me for that is, I love. But beyond that is that having known you as you went from, you were single, you met Darius, you had a baby, and seeing your evolution and from your confidence and your security in yourself and showing up, like I just freaking adore you more than life itself. But one of the things that when we were away, we pointed out with you is you were so self-aware that you're the one with the only child. And I remember after the third time where you were telling us a story about Romeo. Now, Romeo is the cutest freaking thing. He's 1 year old. We're all aunties.
Can we put pictures of Romeo?
Yeah, just everywhere. Romeo, ding, post-production, Nick. But you then, the third time, you were like, I'm so sorry to go on and be one of those women that talks about kids.
It's true. You said, I apologize. I know I'm becoming one of the women that talk about their children all the time. And we were like,
stop saying that.
Do it.
Yeah, we're like,
had a baby.
What are you talking about?
Stop caveating because this, now here was what was sweet. In your mind, in your heart, you're trying to be super considerate to all of us. Same with you, trying to always show up. But over time, it becomes detrimental. And so when you've got a circle of friends that are like, don't do that, homie. You're a freaking amazing mother. We want to hear about Romeo. So anyone at home right now, like, how can you start to echo and see your friends for who they are? Help them. And I think it comes to being open and vulnerable with each other.
Yes.
And when it comes down to you can be in a safe space where you can be open and vulnerable and people can say, hey, that isn't serving you. I care about you so much. But I think that comes down to knowing each other, being vulnerable enough to share your wounds, your triggers, your heartache, and then having friends that you trust. And we have built our friendship over years and years of being able to then trust each other in moments like that. Guys, this has been so phenomenal. Being able to sit with my closest homies on the planet and talk to you guys about the truth of what it's like to be an adult and build your friendships at this age. It can be difficult, but I'm telling you, it can be so freaking beautiful. It really can be beautiful. So please share this video with anyone in your life, any homie of yours, sit together, have fun like we have. This was purely selfish on my part to invite you guys. So guys, thank you so much for joining. Audrey, where can people find you, my homie?
Oh God, Instagram?
All right, that's it, Instagram. Go type in Audrey on Instagram, good luck.
Audrey Hussey.
The Audrey Hussey. The Audrey Hussey. All right, Danielle, my homie, where can people find you?
Find me mainly on Instagram, Danielle Canty, and then my website, Danielle-Canty.
Of course you got a website.
Of course.
Laaaaddddies on Instagram and all other platforms.
Oh, and your podcast, come
And
on.
my podcast, A Really Good Cry.
I love that.
So me, it's everywhere at Marta Igareda. And then I have 2 podcasts, De Todo Un Mucho and Infinitas.
Amazing.
And thank you.
Lisa,
this was amazing. Show us socks. 1, 2, 3, and go.
Oh, my hamstrings.
Bye, everyone. That was so cool.
I'm looking at my hamstrings today.
the wrong way down.
You're like, oh my God,
I'm looking at my hamstrings today.
I really like that.
That was really good. Thank you.
You just heard the importance of being able to set boundaries, whether it's in a relationship or with your friends. So click here right now to learn how to set your boundaries.
I don't even know about my boundaries. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. I don't know if they're too strict. I don't know if they're too loose. So part of it is you have to